What's up, everybody? You're here with the show that brings you interviews from Broadway professionals across the industry. Welcome to the Broadway Talkback.
Anything that people put themselves to, a common one is like, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get in shape, whatever. People fall off because when they face adversity, they don't have a strong enough why.
All right, guys. I have been sitting here with Will Burton for several minutes now already.
We're diving deep.
We've already We've already divin deep today, but we're going to go even further into the life of Mr. Will Burton, especially regarding his career and Broadway and how he got here and what he's doing with his life. We're going to find out. So, Will, I want to talk to you today about. Let's start with where you're from. Where are you from?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. A suburb of Atlanta, Marietta, Georgia. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. And coming from Georgia, how did you get into theater? Like, what was that process?
Yeah, I had so it all started.
Yeah.
It all started in middle school. I had started doing band because I just thought music was fascinating and I thought I wanted to play an instrument. I thought that would be awesome. I played the trumpet. And then my buddy Ryan Breslin, who lived down the street from me, who was also in middle school, he had taken chorus. Mm-hmm. And he was like, dude, next year, you got to do this instead. It's cool. A, incredibly easy. B, the male to female ratio is incredibly in our favor. So I was like, okay, great. So I ditched the trumpet and I started doing chorus in 7th grade. And I just realized like I had a knack for it. My teacher kind of took notice and she explained to Ryan and I that there was a performing arts high school in our county she had sent some kids to that had enormous success. These guys, Billy Ty and Richard Jarrett, have been enormously successful. And so we should check it out. And so we auditioned and we got in and I was like not really excelling at anything else in my life. So I think I, somehow convinced my parents to let me go. And it turns out that this high school is one of the best performing arts high schools in the country.
And which school is that?
Pebblebrook High School.
Yeah.
It's not a boarding school like Walnut Hill. It's not even like a statewide, it's a Cobb County magnet high school that just happens to have incredible training. There's nothing in the water. There's just kids with potential like all kids have. And then these teachers are just really good at building you up and kind of, it's like boot camp for 4 years.
Yeah.
But the training is just insane. And I had never danced a day in my life before I started Pebblebrook High School. And when I graduated, I got a job at the Muni. The Muni in St. Louis.
From high school?
From high school.
Wow.
And that was just the dancing. And I was in acting class and I was in all sorts of singing things. And they encouraged all of these summer programs and all of this stuff. And just the amount that I grew in those 4 years, I probably grew more in terms of actual skill set in the arts in those 4 years than I did even at Michigan.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing, amazing program. And that's how I knew about Michigan because all these amazing graduates were going out there going to CCM and Michigan and Carnegie Mellon and Wright State and OU and Penn State. And if I've left your school out, I'm terribly sorry. There's a ton of great programs. So that's how I found out about Michigan because Carrie Tedder had gone. Carrie Tedder went to my high school.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Who is now in Wicked. He was in a Bronx. He was in Memphis, the original cast. He's done a ton of stuff. He was the first from our school to go to Michigan, and then 3 people from my class at Pebblebrook to the University of Michigan. Carlos Valdez, Allison McDowell, and this guy. So that's where I'm from. That's how I found out about Michigan. And then obviously, for those of you who know, Michigan is a great program. And then, we do a showcase at the end, which gets us the agent and the whole thing, and everybody moves to New York, basically. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
which is where we are in a room in New York City
today, right now. So what I find awesome about what you were just talking about and what we were actually talking about before we officially started recording is it's multiplying your action and extreme action throughout your high school years, because you were not just taking dance at school, you were going to the summer programs, you heard about these things, and you took action on going to these kinds of things. So what were some of the things that you found valuable, I guess, extracurricularly outside of the curriculum of your high school program?
Honestly, my whole theory is that if you are passionate about something, first of all, passion is like learned, I think. Yeah. I think like you have to learn how to work hard at something, and then you get that feeling of I worked hard at this, and then I see results, and I've gotten to a place where I have a greater understanding of this thing.
Yeah.
And then that is then the fuel that makes me keep working hard.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what extracurricular stuff I was doing. First of all, Pebblebrook kept me plenty busy during the school year. There was tons of shows, just like one after the other, after the other. So like in the summertime, I did whatever I did. I went out, I trained here, there, everywhere. Yeah. I taught at a theater camp. I did all this stuff, but really what I learned is that that cycle of passion, and what it taught me was that I had to work really, really hard at it.
Yeah.
And then I would get better. And then getting better, I felt empowered within myself to then just do it more and more. And I think personally that applies to anything that you're remotely interested in. And my advice to anyone watching who is trying to do this, whether you're in college or you're in high school, you're in middle school or wherever, is just work your butt off at it. And you'll find that the cycle of being rewarded is so profoundly like...
Well, and that's when it becomes not work, right? Yeah. Because you're working your butt off, but then that emotional value that you're adding to yourself it becomes so rewarding that it doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like here I am, in New
with
York
an
City,
incredible career.
With a pretty great career.
Yeah.
And, and I've lived here for like 8 years, and I have a great apartment that I love, and like I've done pretty well. And that's all due to just setting up a foundation of the habit of working hard, being rewarded, working hard, being rewarded,
doubling it up. Yeah, repeat, man.
10x, baby.
That's right. That's right. Grant Cardone would be proud. So there's a couple of things I want to take from that. You were saying that like growing up, you didn't necessarily have access to Broadway shows, or like it wasn't on your radar in terms of movie musicals, these kinds of things, singing, dancing. But it sounds like you had a little bit of support from your parents, yeah?
100%.
Which is incredible.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, they were instrumental. Like when I first said I want to go to this performing arts high school, they were like, I'm not so sure. My mom went to see this like showcase that they did that showed off the students, and she was like, you know what? My son can do that. And, it does that. I feel very incredibly lucky that I had that I had the teachers at the high school who looked out for me. And so, yeah, I mean, my next piece of advice would be to seek out the best mentors, the best teachers.
Absolutely.
that you can possibly find, because it's not quite enough to just throw yourself into it. It can be, maybe, but I had some incredible mentors. But these people really set me up for success, and my parents were obviously instrumental in that. They let me go to the school in the first place. They said yes when I said I wanted to go to school that was really expensive for theater. Yeah. So I do feel incredibly lucky to have had that foundation of support.
Yeah, it's a tough sell sometimes.
Completely. And looking back on it, I'm like, you guys were crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the odds that I would succeed.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people sometimes, like, if you want to do this, awesome. But you have to be 10x. You have to want to do it so bad.
You know what's amazing is to see as you kind of climb the ranks a little bit, the concentration of 10x people gets higher and higher.
That's right.
Like, whoa. All these people work hard.
Yeah.
All these people have this base level of talent.
I'm a slacker.
Like, which then, if you're thinking in the 10x terms, you just go, it's amazing when you work hard and you're rewarded, and you look at your peers and you're like, these people are amazing and I am in awe of these people, and yet I feel like I'm hanging.
I feel like I'm a contemporary.
I'm
Absolutely.
a contemporary, yeah, exactly. I'm a colleague in a way that is really satisfying.
Dude, and one of the things that I really appreciate about you, and the thing that you bring to the room, is you have this joy about you that, again, it doesn't seem like work, right? It seems like you're just having a freaking blast.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such an important aspect to bring to a rehearsal room, to bring to a play, you know what I mean? Because it's a play. We're playing.
Yes.
Even though it is hard work.
Yeah.
You're one of those people that I just really appreciate about. So
thanks, Trav.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? So we went Marietta. You had nothing on your radar.
Yeah.
You saw this high school. You were like, I can do that.
Yeah.
From there, you went into Michigan.
Yeah.
Had success at Michigan.
Yeah.
Worked hard at Michigan.
Yeah.
And straight from our showcase, you went to New York. You came here.
Yep.
So what was that process? How did that feel?
So that felt like a record scratch moment.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit, because I think what happened was I had set up a foundation of, like, at Pebblebrook, of like working really hard, but it was because people were telling me, we will not cast you unless you work hard. That's what they were trying to get us to do, was just work hard, because we were just these balls of potential, right?
Yeah. Just
work really hard. I get to Michigan. I did work hard, but I also made my schedule so that I didn't have class on Fridays. And I fell back into a place of like confidence that wasn't productive to myself. But I learned probably more how to be an adult at Michigan than I did at Pebblebrook.
Right.
But, if you go to one of these big schools, I feel like you don't move to New York as an actor unless you believe you're going to have success and you are going to get those roles that you believe that you are capable of getting. And then you get to New York and there's this wake-up call where it's like, oh, there is a ton of people here, and there are 50 people who are more right for every role.
Exactly. Exactly.
And just because you're good, which you're probably not as good as you think you are, doesn't mean you're going to get the role.
Ouch. Yeah.
Speaking from experience, like
absolutely, dude. I'm here with you.
And so I got to New York. I was showing up to dance calls in jean shorts and Chuck Taylors. And, my best friend, Andy Jones, was showing up in like Lululemon pants with a belt and a polo and biceps that were filling out the polo. And I was like getting slightly chubby and wearing my jeans and my Chucks and thinking, as long as I dance best, I will get this role. Or as long as you know what I mean? And and it took me probably 8 months before I got my first job. Mm-hmm. And then something clicked where I was like, that can't be the way that I approach these things anymore. And so I was like, I have to up my game again and go back into this habitual hard work and try to get rid of my ego at every turn and try to accept what the standards of this business are and try to be my best self in every room that I go into where there's anyone who might be able to help me do what I want to do, which is just work anywhere. I mean, I was just like, I couldn't get a regional job for, these first like 8 months that I was in the city.
Which, and 8 months is a relatively short span of time.
Yeah. Well, yes.
What I think the takeaway here is that it's not just about being the best in the room. It's about being your best at all times. And if that means you've got to go to class, if that means even if it is like, oh, my friend is renting out a studio and he's inviting 12 people. Right. Just go take that class. Yeah. Go to the gym. If that's your game, go to the gym. Totally. And it's about being that locomotive, like getting the ball rolling. For sure. And auditioning, when you get here, if you get an agent, there are a lot of auditions. And your agent doesn't have to get you every single one. You can go online, you can say, there's a ton of open calls today that I can go to.
there's that quote that's like, luck is when
Preparation
meets opportunity.
Absolutely.
So if you are prepared and then you're getting a bunch of opportunities and you're showing up and you're going to a bunch of opportunities, then it's just a
You'll find
numbers
yourself
game.
being lucky.
Exactly. Luckily, I got this job. No, I mean, you got this job because you showed up and you were prepared. If you show up in jean shorts and like haven't danced in 6 months because you can't afford class and you're not looking for a way to help yourself get back into that shape,
then you won't be lucky.
You're out of luck.
Right.
As they say.
Because you're not giving it to yourself.
Exactly. And, the second that I realized that and clicked into that habit again, immediately it was just like, it was like it snowballed. It snowballed into this amazing career.
And I want to talk about that career now.
Great.
Because you have had a lot of success.
Yeah. So after that 8 months
Mm-hmm.
of feeling sorry for myself,
Mm-hmm.
this is the start of like the upgrade of my career. I was doing a show at Paper Mill. It was South Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of the guys got an audition for An American in Paris, which was supposed to go to Broadway, but it was like going to Paris first, right?
Yeah,
so we were
I
like, well,
remember
that sounds really cool. What's that all about? Well, it turns out our music director on South Pacific was the music director for that show. So I just asked him. I just said, Brad, tell me about this show. He had done the lab.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, well, I don't know if there's any tracks available, really. It's the most intense ballet dancing I've ever seen. If you think that's you, you should go. And I was like, well, I don't think that's me. So I don't necessarily want to go to this audition, which is at 10 a.m. the day after we close this show. And I have all my guys in this show, and we want to go out after the show and like drink and have fun. I don't want to get up in the morning and go to this audition at 10 a.m. And you basically just told me I'm not right for this, so why would I go?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the guys in the cast were like, yeah, I told my agents I'm not going to go to that. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that. And then that little voice in the back of my head that said, Will, you've never been in a Broadway show. Why is this? Came in, and it was chattering. And I was like, I'm not going to get this. And then it was like, okay, what's the worst that can happen from going to this audition? And I was like, that they would cut me after the first dance call. And then I was like, that's okay if they do that. But you know what I can't do right now? Afford dance classes. And you know what this is? An opportunity to go in and do ballet dancing for an hour for free. They have rented the studio space, and they are going to teach me a ballet combination. So I was like, fine. And I went in for An American in Paris. The decision that I made to just go in to this audition that my agents had gotten me.
Yeah.
When I didn't want to, because I didn't think I was right for it. And because it was the day after we were closing South Pacific and I wanted to go out and drink and have fun. That is so obviously the wrong decision, but it seems like the right decision at the time where you're just like, it's fine. But like, what are my chances of getting this job?
Right.
I probably have a 3% chance of getting this job.
It's a tough pill to swallow. It is.
It is tough. But in the end, the point is, you just show up and you say yes. And you take the opportunities when they're given to you, and you just make sure you're prepared, and good things will happen. Because then we did it in Paris for 2 months, changed my life.
Yeah.
Did the show. We brought it to Broadway. I was in it a year and a half, and I'm thinking, well, this may be my only Broadway show, but I am so grateful, and I can't believe I've accomplished this goal. And
then it wasn't your only Broadway show.
It wasn't, because then Holiday Inn came along.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But now I'm doing a tap show, not a ballet show, like a tap show. And I was understudying these roles, and I was getting to go on for these roles.
Yeah.
And then, oh God, before we even started Holiday Inn, I found out about Hello Dolly. So they call me that day while I'm on my way to the airport to go home for a week before I start rehearsals for Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
And they say rehearsals start, January 5th or whatever, which was the day after Holiday Inn was set to close.
Dude.
It was like insane.
That's serendipity.
It was serendipity.
Absolutely.
It really, really was. And then during Holiday Inn, Warren, who cast Hello Dolly, who had seen me in that audition, was like, would you want to do this week-long Kiss Me Kate concert? It's, we're just going to do the concert at the end, but it's a fundraiser for Roundabout. And will you be one of like the Tom, Dick, or Harry guys in this thing? It's Kelly O'Hara and Will Chase. Would you want to do that? And I was like, sure, what the heck? So I said yes to that. And then that turned into another Broadway show.
Yeah.
Which
sure did.
We just finished at the end of June and was just a wild ride and like so fun and so amazing. And, got to work with like Kelly O'Hara and Will Chase.
No big deal.
And all these amazing actors and just life is
It
great.
is amazing.
Life is amazing.
There's a couple things from all of this that I think are important to take away. One is your willingness to accept these projects.
Mm.
Like that's such a huge thing. Saying yes to like everything, even if it's hard. Like saying yes and then figuring it out is something that we talked about. Look at the propulsion that you get from showing up to these auditions, from saying yes to these auditions, from saying yes to I'm going to go to Paris. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But
right.
like saying yes to the audition the day after the closing night.
That's
saying
what it is.
Yes,
it's saying yes to something that may be a little bit uncomfortable or maybe a little difficult or maybe isn't going to work out. And then you're like already pre-suffering the rejection of like getting cut.
So that was the other thing that I was going to say, actually, is that mentality that you have of, it sounded like it was no big deal. You know what I mean? And and that little mental switch of saying, okay, well, maybe theater is not my identity. Like having that thought of, I have all of these things even outside of theater that I'm, proud of or that I'm passionate about, that I'm working on for myself, to have the healthy ego to be able to say, yeah, I went in there and I did absolutely everything I could. And if they don't want me, then that's not my show for this time around.
I mean, you touch on a good point there too, that I think is really important, that I really did not understand in high school. I didn't quite understand in college, and I've really learned since moving to the city, is the idea that investing yourself solely in these disciplines of dancing, singing, and acting, and just letting that completely consume you is A, I don't think particularly healthy. B, I think it's less productive than you assume it will be. Because if you can be in any situation and find things around you interesting, think about the word interesting. It means that all of a sudden you go from disengaged and nebulous and sort of floating to engaged in something because you're like, there is something that is intriguing me about this thing that I don't understand. That is everywhere if you are mindful of it. And that is extremely valuable as an actor. And it's valuable to cultivate hobbies that are not acting because it's like cross-training. It's like building another part of your brain helps you strengthen this part of your brain.
Absolutely.
Learning how to focus by learning a new instrument or by learning how to cook. It's learning how to learn that then enables you to learn faster and more efficient in what you've already learned a lot of.
Learning how to learn is almost more important than just learning.
Completely.
And when you learn, once you do learn how to learn, it builds on itself, right? Oh, I know how to approach this problem.
Yeah.
Or how to approach this hobby.
Yeah.
And now the next thing that I pick up, I can learn that much faster because, I have all these resources.
Yep.
Oh, I know all these people now.
Yeah. And it's not even, it becomes unconscious when you get to a place in your field where you're surrounded by experts in a way, because then it becomes harder and harder to grow quickly.
Yeah.
Unless you're constantly teaching yourself how to learn and approaching things from a different angle.
And emulating success, right? So seeing the successful people around you and saying, oh, what are they doing right that I can not imitate, not do exactly the same, but emulate and find a way to apply it to your own situation,
Completely.
right? Dude, I could talk to you for hours hours,
Same
but it's
I'll be back.
definitely we're gonna have this dude back for sure. I think our wide angle shut off, but we're gonna be back with this dude for sure. I want to talk to you about a few more things before you're off to a voice lesson.
Yep.
So these are my gratuitous questions that I'm probably going to ask everybody.
You need to make a name for this, like this section,
right? And I haven't found it yet.
Maybe right now it's just gratuitous questions.
Yeah.
Title pending.
There we go. Gratuitous questions, title pending for you, Mr. Will Burton. Are: what is your dream role? Have you already played your dream role?
That is a great question. There are roles that I would love to play, but a true dream role is a role where you're in the room with these creative people and they are like building it on you. You know what I mean? Because I want to walk in and I want to go to an audition for a new musical and I want to make people laugh and I want to astound people with like sort of my energy.
Yeah.
And then I want them to go,
we got to
whatever
this
that
for
is,
you. Yeah.
It's different and it's unique and it's only Will.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
That's the perfect answer to that question.
Great.
Cool. So, diversion from that.
Uh-huh.
What is your favorite show that you've seen? Favorite show. We'll go with a favorite show. Not the one, but like something that's left an impression.
The first thing that always comes into my mind is when I was in high school and I saw the Raul Esparza company.
Absolutely.
I just remember being like, whoa, this is amazing in a way that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me. And we're talking about there's a new company revival coming with Patti LuPone and Katrina Lenk, two people who I like think are amazing. Katrina Lenk is playing Bobby. So that's a show that I remember just absolutely loving.
That is also a perfect answer.
Sweet.
Great work.
Thanks, man.
And then last thing before we get to your social media, we're going to blast you.
Great.
Is there like a moment on stage that was like crazy, like a mix up or a mess up that stuck with you?
A mix up or a mess up? In Paris, we're doing a new musical, right? An American in Paris is a new show. And it was the night of our final dress rehearsal, which we didn't realize at the time, but it was going to be a full house. I forget his name, Jean-Luc, I believe, was like the artistic director of this theater. And he came down to us and he was like, I want you to know that we're going to have like a small group of family and friends that are going to be in this theater tonight. And we were like, cool. It turns out it was like a packed house. But what happened before that was we were going to do this final run through. We had not done a single run through. The crew was all French, so there was like a language barrier. The crew turned over every like 5 days.
No way.
Because they were union and because of it was like a government job, so they could only work a certain number of days a week. So not only was there a language barrier, but then you just show up and there'd be a new person trying to dress you for a quick change.
Wow.
And so we were freaked out. So we start this run, and during the opening ballet, this big piece is like entering and it hits something and breaks in half.
No
and
way.
Like pieces of wood are like raining down on us. We're like, ah! And so we have to get off the stage. We cannot do a final run through. And I can't stress how important it was that we had a final run through before we did this thing. So we're about to do our final dress rehearsal, which usually they'll say like, if you need to stop, we'll stop, etc.
Right.
But the house was full. And we were like, oh my God, this is dangerous and a little bit scary, but also exhilarating. And we just pulled it together.
Wow.
And like, I'm not going to say nothing went wrong because stuff went wrong.
Of course.
But the show didn't stop.
Wow.
Nobody was naked on stage.
Important.
They all made it into their costumes or a costume. Maybe not the right costume. And the show started and it ended and everybody was alive at the end. And it was like 3 hours long. It was way too long. But the French audience was like
uproarious. That's amazing.
And the curtain came down and we were all just shooketh. and like people were crying, and then the stage manager, the French stage manager, comes back out. He was like again, encore. So it was like, and then
Wow.
5 times. And apparently this is what they do. But at the time, we didn't know that was like a thing that they do. They do it if they like something.
Sure.
But, American musical theater is not super prevalent in Paris. So they were seeing that. They were also seeing like ballet is something that they are much more appreciative of and do a lot of ballet and opera. Right, exactly. So like they were seeing a story told using that language. And we just pulled our shit together and like made sort of a miracle happen. And then all of that. And then just the fact that we were in Paris. It was just a really, really magical.
That's incredible.
Magical evening.
All right. I hate to do that. We're already over time for you, dude. But
That's right.
Listen, I really appreciate you being here. It's always a pleasure.
Such a pleasure. This is a great idea.
Thank you.
Look forward to more episodes with some amazing people.
For real.
He knows some amazing people, and I'm sure he will get them on.
I even like tangentially know some pretty awesome people. So like 1 degree of separation.
Yeah.
I'll get you in here somehow.
Yeah.
I want to blast you on social media.
Yep.
Where can we find you? Give us the beats.
Will Burton UM. That's not Will Burtonum. Will Burton, capital U, capital M, on Instagram and Twitter.
Beautiful. You've been a joy.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, dude.
I
This was
appreciate
fun.
your time. Absolutely.
I'm coming back.
Yes, you are, dude.
I'm coming back.
We're going to have episode 16 will be a repeat.
Yes, great.
Cool, man.
Can't wait.
All right.
Awesome, dude. All right, well, I'm going to go to rehearsals.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Broadway Talkback. If you found some value here, go ahead and like and subscribe. And while you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment letting me know who you want to see in the coming episodes. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Broadway Talkback. See you next time.